Hello everyone and welcome to another edition of Geek Center. My name is Corey Morset. I'm the Right Honorable Geek Minister of the Movie Trivia Face-Off, coming off one of our best matches of the year, Thomas Scully versus Dave Lees. But this week, I am honored to be bringing to you today a top flank contender and his manager. Let's welcome Alex Mack and Ryan, the Caramel Mountain Payne. How's it going?
Awesome. How are you?
I am doing great, and I really got to thank Alex especially for coming on here. She had a really busy day and actually just completed a schmobates with none other than Christian Harloff himself taking on Rachel Silvestrini. How did that go for you?
It was a very hectic day, but you know what? Bring it on. I love all the excitement and everything that kind of goes along with it.
And Ryan, you've been doing a lot of calling of matches here lately in the MTFO. You finally got a match coming up yourself against Jack Mayer. Maybe tell us a little bit about that.
Okay, I have been enjoying calling a couple of these matches. It's always good to scout out my opponents, or at least, see new talent come into the movie trivia face-off. But at the same time, a part of me feels like it's been ages since I had a geek match here. I mean, my match against Alex, I did that before the Funtacular, and I don't know, it gets released like a moment like before now when the World War Geek happens. I don't get it. I thought that I was, making some. I thought I was on good waves here in the face-off. I thought I had, some support here. But it kind of seems to me that last year and a couple of these new competitors has pretty much told me that I guess I can't do this alone. I have to have a crew with me. I need to have people to back me up, or at least people I know I can go into battle with. And I kind of like to thank Alex for reaching out to me because, to be honest, I thought I was going to probably have to wait till World War Geek itself to finally play in Geek. I thought I was going to be semi-retired and just turned into an interviewee/announcer. So it's good that I'm actually going to be playing in the match.
Absolutely. And you mentioned having a manager and having a squad behind you helping you get some opportunities. Let's talk about the importance of having a manager. And we have one of the best ones in the business right here with Alex. Alex, maybe talk about your managerial style and how a competitor benefits having a manager.
Well, something I do kind of want to make known here is that being part of Death Proof, we're a family. Okay, Death Proof is our faction. I love every single one of my competitors. Ryan, I actively work with him and chat with him every single day. Everyone's a little bit different. Now, everyone has a different kind of management style, but also every competitor is a little bit different. So I like to kind of customize it depending on what that individual competitor needs at that time. But, the way I treat, Ryan, obviously Ryan is amazing in 1,000,001 different ways as a competitor and as a person, obviously. I'm also going to treat him a little bit different, versus his teammate is someone else I also manage, and that's Scott Harvey. I treat them a little bit different as competitors as well because they both have very different styles that they kind of need in that kind of role.
So you talked about training, obviously very important for a manager to organize training, that kind of thing, but during a match, also very important to have a manager, and we've seen examples of that just recently here. So maybe talk about your role behind the scenes during a match.
If possible, if I'm able to make it to the match, I try to be there for all my competitors' matches, but sometimes schedules just do not line up, unfortunately. And obviously, the competitors are necessary to be participating in a match. Managers aren't. That's like a bonus. Now, that being said, though, I think sometimes when you're in the moment, when you're trying to kind of, as a competitor, Ryan knows, when you're actively competing, you're thinking of yourself, trying to dive into, trying to figure out what the answer is, whatever. Sometimes you need someone over your shoulder to be like, hey, you have options. You have a challenge no need that you could remember to use, because 90% of the time challenges aren't used, unfortunately. And there's a lot of different ways you can use a challenge, and say that managers, I feel like, are much more comfortable with using on behalf of the competitor. But also in that, sometimes when you're heat in the moment, when you're competing actively, sometimes you forget about your JTEs, or sometimes you kind of forget that how to go into your mind palace. Because I come again. Like I said earlier when we were chatting before we started recording, everyone makes fun of it because I'm not a competitor. I'm never going to tell Ryan how to get the knowledge down, you know.
Can I interject here? And I kind of probably want to add on to whenever Alex has a competitor, and whenever like people like to shoot on her, they always go, "Oh, Alex is never around," or "Why? Oh, you already set yourself up to failure because you have Alex as a manager." Last time I checked, people who have managers in this league either end up suffering huge, humiliating defeats. I mean, I can't name most off a few, but I've seen in so many different leagues. I've seen like managers like with Nico, with Jay, when Adelaide manages, when Koho manages, that their competitors don't always come out with the victory that they're always guaranteed. I know with Alex, yes, we are treated like a family here, and on times, if I don't get the victory I think I earned, or let's just say, for example, I'm always so down on myself, Alex has no problem just by taking a boot and kicking my ass, letting myself know not to be so hard on myself. Excuse my language for anybody out there, but that's one of the most important things of a manager. They're not only supposed to have your back, but they're also supposed to make sure that they save you from yourselves whenever you're down in that hole. And I have constantly seen from either calling matches or from watching matches or playing in matches how competitors, their biggest worst enemy is themselves. The moment they miss a question or they think they should have challenged on something, too much strategy and mental stress starts going down on them. And that's why having Alex as competitor is very important. I mean, people want to go out alone in this league, all for it. If you think you can dominate in a league, if you think you can dominate in Star Wars, in Geek, or hell, you think you can do better off with nobody as a teammate, all for you. But the moment you start realizing that people are more versatile, they're more skilled, and they're very quick on answers than you are, you're going to have to realize you're going to need help. And I'm glad I was able to realize that earlier this year instead of, I don't know, waiting until the end of this year or until the next event in the face-off to realize I'm going to need help. It's better you realize you either get a partner or you get a manager. And luckily for me, I got both with Alex.
Now, Alex, you mentioned your faction. You mentioned Savage Scott Harvey and Ryan Payne are in that. Who else is in that faction with you?
I have several wonderful competitors under our belt. We recently had added to the Death Proof family. We actually added out Malcolm Goldilay. You know, he's wonderful. Also part of IG and Star Wars. We were expecting a lot of wonderful things coming up with him, and we were working with him very regularly to do some things with that. But also, I have Corey Quinto, the very legendary Corey Quinto that just won Free for All. So with everyone, so I couldn't be more proud for him for that. But also, like I said, Scott Harvey, you know, who is actually part of the Paint and Gain team, which I'm expecting huge things from because they're amazing in every single way. So excited. And also, last but not least, I have Josh Vasquez as well,
who had a very successful singles debut not that long ago here in the MTFO. Now, we got a couple other factions forming here in the MTFO, of course, the League of Shadows, Ruben Cologne's little group, and now Adelaide Spence is getting a group together. Is that something you'd like to tackle on, take on down the road, taking on the League of Shadows and Adelaide's group?
I'm not worried about Adelaide.
And as far as the League of Shadows is concerned, having been on the desk, seeing that little tape of them announcing themselves and having Mark Kamara portray, Scribs, and as someone who has been across the desk from Scribs, the fact that he gets portrayed like that by his own faction mate kind of rubs me it rubs me the wrong way, to be honest, because no offense, last time I checked, those two were supposed to mean that faction was meant to be like brothers. And now all of a sudden, Kamara wants to trade up because he's not succeeding as well as he thought he did, or he thinks Ruben and Tuwig and Fairley can give him the victories he needs. All four of them are in Geek. How are they going to spread the wealth amongst each other? Our group, we have versatile players. I can mainly focus on IG, and then we'll have Josh and Scott maybe go in singles, or we'll have Malcolm do IG, and then maybe I could make a debut in Star Wars. Who knows exactly? We're all good players here. So if you want to build a league of just only one skill trait players, good luck, because you guys are set to fail.
That's a great point. I want to point out just how smart of Alex that was to build a stable like that where you have competitors in different divisions. League of Shadows could have a real problem come World War Geek, I think.
Well, I mean, honestly, I feel like, don't get me wrong. I mean, they're a huge league. I mean, they're definitely a force to be reckoned with. I mean, they have a lot of really talented competitors in there. There's nothing to scoff at. I definitely understand that. But at the same time, there's so many of them. It really makes me wonder about their management, honestly. I mean, how much time are they going to give to each one of those competitors? How much effort can they give to not only one-on-one, but to every single team, to every single league? It's nauseating. Now, again, each of my competitors I love and I'm very loyal to. Now, that being said, I do push their buttons because I know each of them. The reason why I recruited them, I didn't be like, oh, you're a cool guy, I'm going to recruit you. No, that's a plus. But I'm looking for people with talent. I'm looking for people that I know for a fact I can vibe well with, but also people that I know I can get behind. And Josh, Ryan, Scott, Corey, Malcolm, these are people that I really know and admire that I can get behind 100%. And I know no matter what the circumstances are, they got my back as well.
So you just added Malcolm Goldie Lee just recently, which I think was a tremendous move for him. He's a talented competitor who I think just needs a little direction, and you're going to provide for him. Is there anybody? Are you still accepting applications at this point?
Who knows? Here pretty soon, if someone catches my eye, that's something I can also discuss again with my competitors because they are my focus. I'm not going to add someone just on the fly. I do have an auditioning process I like to go through, so if depending on how the audition goes and also depending on how the chemistry is, and I talk with all my competitors. How do you guys feel about this? Do you guys vibe well with them? What's your history? Do you think I would do well with them? Because like I mentioned, we talk to each other every
Watch your language.
day. And we're a family. So if there's if there's arguments and stuff going on in the family, we need to fix it. And thankfully, that's not the case.
Well, let's take a look at the top 20 rankings here in the MTFO Geektacular division, and maybe some names will jump out at you, Alex, as potential Death Proof members. Here's the top 20 as it stands right now. Some of these names are going to get removed right after World War Geek because they're just not that active. So you're going to see some guys like Mark Meyer moving up in the rankings. Of course, Nazario is playing this week. We'll get to that matchup in a moment here. Of course, there's Ryan Payne there at 15. Again, he'll be moving up after his match, I'm sure. Alex, Ryan, is there anybody in that list of 10 names there that could potentially be a fit?
Well, we actually had a pretty in-depth conversation about several of these competitors, but I know Ryan has his eye on several in particular, Ryan.
Yeah, I do actually. I mean, just quickly looking at least the side of the board that I'm on, I would actually like to play. I mean, of course, if you guys caught from my rant, I do have a bit of a slight issue with Mark Meyer and his ideas of loyalty. So I would like to play him down the road. Despite Adelaide's journey throughout the MTFO, I have joked with him on and off about playing him, and he's also joked with me saying that they will destroy me or they just don't want to play me.
It's not cute though when they try to do that. It's adorable. So cute.
Well, Adelaide's trying to be humble, and I respect Adelaide being humble. But if the winds of fate puts the both of us together, I'm not going to underestimate Adelaide, just like I know they won't underestimate me. And I think another person on this list I definitely want to play is Albert, because I remember his match against Andrea that I was on the desk for. And I actually would like to play him because I know I know this guy is very terrifying. I mean, I believe that match he won that match like a TKO, or he dominated most of his rounds. So yes, give me him as well.
Well, and that's a great matchup. I could see that happening somewhere down the line. I'm looking forward to negotiating with Alex to get you that match right after World War Geek. Let's take a look at the top 10 now.
Clarify, you said you can picture it. You are going to see it here down the line. It's going to happen. It's inevitable.
Unless Ryan's in the top 10 and looking at some bigger fish here. You got Chris Diaz, Antonio Chavez, Kaleb Koho playing this week. Caleb Boatman with a huge victory over Sandy Robinson. Nick Tuhig, Ruben Colon, Joe Fairley, the League of Shadow Boys. Then, of course, Mike Shea, David Garcia, and Thomas Scully, the new #1. Ryan, anybody on that list that you'd like to take on?
Well, as a hungry competitor, of course, I want to go for the top of the food chain. But I've also had training sessions with David Garcia, so I would definitely see him as someone not to face just yet. But let's just say if I do come out of World War Geek as champion, and he happens to be #1 contender or the next guy on the list, then, well, that's just how this is how the dice is going to roll. Either I come out on top or he comes out on top. But one thing's damn for sure. If I come face to face with one of the League of Shadow Boys, I'm going to let them know that this league is not going to be that easy for them to dominate. There is stiff competition here.
Alex, looking at the list here, and one name that jumps out to me is Mike Shea, the hype man. 3-0, 126 points at Geektacular, currently unrepresented in the movie trivia face-off. Might you be interested in a competitor like that?
Maybe. We'll see. That's not, again, it's something I have to chat with my group about, and who knows? Maybe he likes being solo. Some competitors really love being part of group, being part of a team, being part of that family, and some people just thrive on that sense of independence, like cowboys. So who knows?
Good. Let's talk about the matchup this week. We got a big one here. Nazario, Mr. VHS Montenegro, is going to be taking on Kaleb, the Mad King Koho. Let's take a look at the tail of the tape. Nazario, very good in round 1, 80%. Round 2 drops a little bit. Of course, he's only had the one match at 40%. He did hit a 2-pointer in round 3 to beat Nico Rigoli, who's a pretty tough competitor. As for Kaleb Koho, 75% in round 1, 90% in round 2. He's 100% on steals. Defeated Jonathan the Raptor Master Peck and took Robert Parker to round 3, deep into round 3 as well. So a tough competitor there. Ryan, what's your take on these two competitors here?
Well, let's just get the elephant out of the let's get the elephant out of the room. Anyone who was able to take Robert Parker to the 3rd round definitely deserves a lot of respect and attention, especially knowing seeing the stats here. Round 2, 90%. I mean, the fact is that round 2 it's either a make or break situation for anybody. And if I got a category I didn't like, I would definitely be on my toes if Kaleb has any opportunity to steal from me.
No, that's a good point. Let's take a look at their wheel now that they're going to be competing with this weekend. Of course, the main 8 fandoms are on there, as well as Back to the Future and Pirates of the Caribbean. So each competitor, strategy-wise, opting to put their strengths on the wheel. Lately, we've seen a lot of people go for more generic categories, trying to trip up their competitors. They went a different route. They went with strengths. So I thought it was kind of interesting that both competitors choosing the same strategy here.
I agree. When it comes to, I'm also one of those managers. I like to chat with all my competitors very actively, like right before a match. Strengths, weaknesses. Let's analyze our previous matches and see what we can come up with as far as that. So when it comes to picking the strengths they want to apply to the wheel, it can be a very, I don't want to say labor intensive, but
a bit tedious or stressful, maybe.
Yeah, it's definitely something that you do want to take an active effort in doing, and not just tossing in a category that you feel confident in. Obviously, you got to be smart about it. Competitors nowadays, all competitors are doing the research. They're actively working every single day in order to become better competitors, which is what we need now more than ever. So, if you want to take it to the next level as a competitor, you really got to get creative in finding those newer categories to become an ace act.
Nope, that is a very good point. Now it's time for your picks. Let's start with Ryan. Who do you like in this matchup? Nazario Montenegro versus Kaleb Koho.
Well, I mean, looking at the stats, Koho is the heavy favorite, but having my experience in matches, never underestimate a round 2. So a part of me wants to think that Nazario is definitely going to be, he wants to prove something, obviously. He came close to becoming singles champion last year, so I'm pretty sure he wants to really let everyone know that he is coming, like he's coming with a vengeance in the Geek League, but also, I swear to God, he keeps constantly talking about Blockbuster Video. I just want to beat him just to shut down Blockbuster Video once and for all.
All right, Alex, who do you like?
Honestly, I think it's moot point. I don't care about either of these people. I'm not gonna lie. Well, I do. They are really great competitors. I mean, you can't argue the stats. Obviously, they're immensely talented, both of them. I can't wait to see Ryan kick their ass, and that's all I care about.
There you have it. Well, I'm going to side with Kaleb Koho here. I think it's going to come down to round 2. If Nazario gets his category on the wheel, it could be a much different outcome. But I just think Koho and maybe the Star Trek rounds, some of the more obscure questions, going to maybe have a little bit of an advantage in this one. But it's going to be a very good match. I see it going 3 rounds. All right, Ryan, where can the people find you online? Do you have anything you'd like to plug?
Well, people can check out my letterbox. I just go under the username Valentine316. I got back on it now, and I'm just starting to upload so many movies I've watched, my opinions and reviews, and also people can check me around any of the trivia leagues, Movie Trivia Face Off, Multiplex. Hopefully, I'm looking to play in a singles match. I know I have a team match coming up soon. And
when is it coming out? Pretty soon, Ryan. When is it coming out?
It's unknown at this point. I mean, the team's tournament is happening, and so it could pop up tomorrow. Yeah. It could pop up during the weekend. Who knows?
Oh my gosh!
Yeah.
Sad.
And also,
I'm so hyped.
Yeah. Right. But here's also another thing. Just this couple past weeks during my journey throughout trivia, I stumbled upon this league called Titan Trivia League, where they had a free for all that I was invited to. Not only did I play in that, but I also won their Titan Trivia to become their inaugural singles champion. And they're going to be setting up a couple of matches like later on happening in May. But right now, Titan Trivia League, it just started. So don't expect to see a whole lot of videos. They mainly just have the free-for-all up. So right now, those are the kind of leagues you can find me in.
Still, you bring on a manager and success follows. Already you're a champion. Congratulations, Ryan. Alex, of course, you're one part of the legendary Call to Action crew. What else would you like to promote, and where can the people find you?
Yes, I am part of the Call to Action crew, where every single week I host a Schmodown debate show called Schmobate, where we argue and debate to the death on biggest Schmodown questions, such as, what is the best belt match in Schmodown history, all the way down to one of the matches today, which was, for example, what is the best commentator in Schmodown? So, yeah, I like to do that every single Wednesday at 9:30 Central, so definitely check us out there. We do a lot of fan interaction and viewer interaction, so it's a whole lot of fun. But also, I'm actually involved with a little film analysis show called Cinema Bias with Video Drew herself, known as Drew Grant, and we are going to be starting to do that every Tuesday evening. Time is up in the air, but it's going to happen.
Well, that sounds great. I'd like to thank you very much for joining us this week. I'd like to thank you all for watching, and we'll see you next week on Geek Center.
Thank you. We'll see you soon.
So much, everybody.